Welcome back to another episode of Rise to Liberty podcast. Today we are going to continue the Satanic Panic is Real series. We're just barely getting everything up off the ground, so things might change not change, but they might evolve. Things are going to be updated and formats might change here and there, but whatever it may be, I will make sure and give everyone a heads up beforehand. So first, before we get going, let's see here. One thing I wanted to let everyone know that they can do right over there in the top of the screen. Let's see, that would be everyone's top left. Feel free to scan that QR code if you want to help support everything I do. That's my Buy Me a Coffee. So feel free to do that. You can also head on over to my now active master link, which, let's see, it's not coming up for some reason. Hold on. It's there. Okay, it's not there. Oh no. Here it is. Okay. Don't know why I was having so many problems with that, but so go ahead and check this out. It is in the episode description. If you want to check out the master link, it is, I believe, all my links, all one word, allmylinks.com/rise to liberty. Working on getting the domain name set up so that it will just be the name of the show. So it's a lot easier instead of, all my links and blah, 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 all this stuff. So hope everyone's doing well. I hope you were doing well tonight. Yes, we are back. Glad to see everyone here. Once again, thank you so much for joining me. So we're going to kind of pick up where we left off last week, which we started dipping our toes into modern Satanism. Basically, Anton LaVey is kind of where it all starts. Let's see, I use all my links too, and I've had people tell me the links don't work for them, but looks good in my end. Worked last night. Yeah, I mean, I've never had an issue with it. I might not stay with them. I don't know. We're trying them out. We're trying new things. We'll see how it goes. I check mine at least every 2 to 3 days to make sure that they're working. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. Let's see. Your episode with Heidi was great, Jacob. Thank you so much. I had a lot of fun talking to her. Also, if you guys don't know, I did an interview on her show as well, so make sure and go check that out. I believe that one is already out as well. So yeah, make sure and go show her some love on her channel. But yeah, it was a great conversation. Been getting lots of great feedback from it. And only one negative comment so far. So, I was kind of thinking there might be a few more, there's always haters out there, but nothing we can't handle. Anyways, back to the show. So we left off talking about the Church of Satan, Anton LaVey. Anyone who didn't see last week's episode, please make sure and go check that out. Let's see. So today we are going to start kind of in the same spot. Let's see here. We are going to pull up Anton's Find a Grave page. Let's see. Yeah, we'll make that wider. So there's going to be a lot of... oh my God. Hi, JC. Glad to see you in here. So there's going to be, pushback from Satanists all about Anton LaVey. I think I talked about this a little bit before. There's tons of people tons of Satanists or even like historians or whatever that, call Anton a charlatan, a con man. And I guess I can agree with it. However, the point still stands that Anton LaVey has done more for the religion of Satanism, and I use the term religion loosely, but he has done more for Satanism than almost anyone else, at least as far as like the wider appeal, the public knowledge of their existence and everything. And a lot of them will probably argue that they don't want that. In fact, there's quite a few, I guess, high up people in various organizations that do not want the publicity. They do not want the attention. They want to 100% gatekeep. And you know what? I don't really care. But point is we do have to start at LaVey. So that's, and honestly, I don't really care what Satanists think as far as, what I do on my show. So we are definitely starting here. We are not doing a full history of LaVey. There are definitely some good ones out there. The one I would recommend, although I don't recommend this channel itself, but the episode he did about Anton LaVey was very, very well done. And that's Time Suck with Dan Cummins. Used to be a big fan, not a fan anymore. I'll actually get into that because he also did a Satanic Panic episode. He did several episodes that I feel need to be addressed at some point. So, but the one he did about LaVey is very well done, and I do recommend it if you want to know more about him, where he came from, all of this stuff. So let's just kind of dive straight in to what I have planned for tonight. So Anton Sansdor LaVey, he was born April 11th, 1930. And this is important. He was born in Cook County, Illinois, or Chicago, basically. He died the 29th of October, 1997 at the age of 67. He died in San Francisco. I believe that's where his ashes were scattered. So there is no technical grave for him, although I do believe that there are places where people go and pay their respects. Let's see. Same as Aquino. He was a culture creationist, redirecting the youth away from the truth. Right. And I mean, we're going to introduce Michael Aquino today because that's going to be the star of our show for a while. He was a mind warrior, right? He was an expert in psychological operations, literally wrote the book on it. So, but we'll get to him. So as far as LaVey goes, he's known as the founder of the Church of Satan, born Howard Stanton LaVey in Chicago, Illinois, the son of Gertrude and Michael LaVey, a liquor distributor. Okay, this is important, and you'll learn why. But like Operation GCD always says, who is your daddy and what does he do? Well, I mean, as far as I understand, there's not 100% authentication on this information. However, it is widely believed that, it is confirmed that his dad did live in Chicago, was a salesman, and he did sell liquor, at least for a brief period of time. So if you're thinking about this, so Anton is born in 1930. If his dad was selling liquor, that means he was running liquor during Prohibition, right? So this is kind of a big deal because that means Anton's family has connections to the mob. Chicago, running liquor, 1930s, right? So this is why it's a big deal that his dad was a liquor distributor. And you know what? Somebody ran some liquor. I don't really care. Being tied to the mob, that's a different thing though. His parents soon moved to San Francisco Bay Area, where LaVey grew up. As a youth, he developed an interest in dark literature and Gothic legends, shunning sports and outdoor athletic activity favored by most young boys. I mean, I think he would have been more effective if he would have hit the gym occasionally, but whatever. Um, as a youth, he developed. Oh, wait, I already read that. Let's see. So, dropping out of high school in his junior year, he worked in a circus and later played the organ for a carnival, local bars, lounges, and nightclubs. In fact, he was actually a San Francisco unionized organ player, something I actually did not know. I know he did that for the city and everything. In fact, he would like go and play the organ for, sporting events and all sorts of stuff. I didn't realize he was unionized. So that's interesting. To avoid the draft during the Korean War, he attended San Francisco City College, where he met and married Carol Lansing, who bore him his first daughter, Carla LaVey, in 1952. He would claim that during his period as an organist playing at the Lost Weekend Cocktail Lounge, he would meet many of the city's prominent people, which he was incredibly focused on pretty much his entire life. He was always interested in rubbing elbows with the affluent. He wanted to be seen, wanted to be noticed, and he wanted to be noticed with people worth noticing. Let's see. After meeting Diane Haggerty, he divorced Carol in 1960, and Haggerty moved in with him. Although they never married, Haggerty bore him his second daughter, Zena LaVey, in 1964. And we will be coming up to Zena, most definitely. She's still around. In fact, not that long ago, she gave a very interesting interview with Dr. Jordan B. Peterson, which we will do a whole episode breaking down because they both denounce the existence of satanic ritual abuse or just ritual abuse in general. So in fact, while that point is being made, I want to bring up one of the reasons why I'm doing this is because even though, we've been in a panic for 40 years at this point, it's never really gone away. There are still so many people out there pushing the satanic panic propaganda. And it bothers me very, very deeply. And so that's one of the reasons I'm doing this. If people are still out here pushing satanic panic propaganda, we need somebody pushing back. Now, there's been plenty of other people, especially, in this circle of researchers and podcasters and stuff that have done episodes on it. I want to take it a step further and do this whole series. We're probably going to end up with hundreds of episodes by the time it's done. I have no plan in stopping anytime soon. We are going to just keep going, and we will go through every aspect of it that we possibly can. So yeah, if you're here now, hopefully you'll be, here with me years from now, because I will still be doing it. Also, just to clarify, I have zero interest in hurting myself or others. I'm also not into any weird things that would get me arrested or get me in trouble. So just let that be known. I love life and plan on doing this, so I'm not going anywhere. Let's see. So where were we? In 1966, he founded the Church of Satan and became the first high priest, self-anointed, to be the first, somebody's got to say it's me. So during the next several years, he would become noticed by the media, attend several television talk shows, perform a satanic funeral for a Navy officer in 1967, and baptize Xena for television in 1967 in the name of Satan. He published a book, The Satanic Bible, in 1969 to serve as a guide to his followers. In 1975, the Church of Satan split into two factions, with many of the high-ranking members resigning to form the Temple of Set, claiming that LaVey had reorganized the Church of Satan for his own personal exploitation. Okay, yeah. Even if he did, I think I agree that he did do this. Even if he did it for himself, he's still doing it for other people because he wants the attention. He wants the other people there. So, yeah, maybe it was completely 100% self-serving. It's still going to serve other people. And also, from a Satanist standpoint, what's the big deal with that? I know that Michael Aquino argued that the reason little Mikey was so upset about this is because Anton himself didn't even believe in Satan as a deity that existed, right? Anton was an atheist through and through. That doesn't really matter, in my opinion, from the standpoint of a Satanist. So, honestly, I think they're just splitting hairs, kind of like, it's like the no true Scotsman fallacy. Same shit happens with libertarians. It's not a real libertarian, blah blah blah. It's the same argument. Michael Aquino, you're not a real Satanist, blah blah blah. So, but we'll get to that. In 1997, he was stricken by pulmonary edema and taken to St. Mary's Catholic Hospital in San Francisco, where he died of a heart attack. His body was cremated and the ashes divided among his heirs. During his lifetime, LaVey would claim many things about his life, most of which were debunked by his daughter. In 1998, his daughter Xena and her husband, Nicholas Schreck, which is a name you will hear quite often, claimed that her father deliberately misrepresented a number of facts in his life, and arguing that his mix of philosophy was really a pseudo-philosophy. Yeah, of course it is. I mean, okay. She would also claim that he was not a loving family man as he portrayed in the press, but in reality would beat his wife and children, abuse the family pets, and would force his female disciples into prostitution as part of his counseling to collect their earnings. Among LaVey's claims that his daughter later debunked were his claim that he originated the Satanic Bible. She claimed, or I guess still claims, it was plagiarized from writings by Ragnar Redbeard, John D. Ayn Rand, and Aleister Crowley, and was published only to cash in on the Satanism fad of the late 1960s. Also claimed that LaVey had affairs with actresses Marilyn Monroe and Jane Mansfield, both denied by friends of the two actresses, and that his church had over 10,000 members. His daughter claimed that the church's maximum membership was only 300. Okay. So now that we've gotten through with that, I mean, keep in mind that Xena is kind of butthurt. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that she's wrong, because I do think she's right. I think Anton LaVey was most definitely a con man to a certain degree. And he was also a habitual liar. I mean, he openly discusses how lying is not sanctioned, but it's promoted in Satanism. So why wouldn't he be? However, there are things that he said about his life that have been proven that Xena has claimed to be fake and a lie, but are actually not. So you just got to kind of remember Xena, not a big fan of her father. yeah, I mean, look at the guy. I can't imagine he was like the best dad. Obviously, he performed a satanic baptism of his daughter on television. Um, was this for money? Yeah, of course. Why wouldn't it be? Everyone does things for money. However, I don't think it was solely for money. Um, that's a pretty big dedication of life to be able to dedicate yourself to a scam that thoroughly. I mean, so if he didn't believe it, he had to trick himself into believing it. Otherwise, there would be evidence of him like taking off his costume, so to speak. But no, this is him. This is who he is. Um, so when people say, "Oh, he's not real" or whatever, I mean, he's about as real as you can get. I mean, I don't understand that whole argument. Um, let's see here. So there was something else I wanted to address. Okay. So the next thing we're going to hit up real quick. Let's see. Yeah, and his daughter Xena, by the way, is very interesting. She's part of the whole he wasn't Satanist enough, and so we're going to show you what real Satanism is kind of people, So things get real interesting real quick when it comes to her, and especially her husband. Shrek is very, very interesting. Let's see here. So we're going to head back to the Church of Satan's website. Let's see. Let me fix the screen real quick. If anyone would like to read this and stuff, I'm going to post all of the sources down in the episode description after the stream. So unfortunately, I don't have them in a nice little neat document like I want to plan on doing for future shows. I just simply ran out of time today. Plus, I've been still super consumed by the West Memphis 3 stuff. I'm working on some really, really cool things for some upcoming episodes. So there's going to be at least 2 scripted videos about the West Memphis 3. It's going to go through in a decent depth of the case itself. We're going to run through the whole thing. They'll probably be 2.5 hours each. There's going to be downloadable companions. And this is what I'm excited about. There will be downloadable companions of, like a timeline. There's going to be, I'm making some maps, some like relationship maps. So, the visual learners out there will be able to look at these documents and say, okay, this person's attached here to here to here. And they're not going to be super elaborate. This is pretty, there's a lot of connections, but also it takes a lot of time to do this. And I just want to hurry and get it out, give the basic understanding. There's a bunch of stuff like that that's coming. Plus, I still have 2 more interviews with William Ramsey. I'm going to try and get a couple of other people that are, I would say, experts in the case. Anyways, I've been super consumed with that. So everything else is kind of coming second and third. So I've brought up this article that the Church of Satan has actually posted. This comes from, let's see, a Grossi magazine or a Grossi, I don't know, a Gossi. Anyways, Dick Russell is the one that wrote it. This is dated June 1975. The reason why, let's see, Control F. So here is the reference from 75 in this article. Mainly the article just talks about like his background, like how he was raised, all of this other stuff. But this is what matters right here. So So he had gone to play the calliope, arranging music for the high wire Walandas and human cannonball. Granted, this was still at the time when, freak shows and circuses were still a big thing, which, that's kind of cool. He's a nerd, but that's kind of cool. I love the circus. Let's see. Human cannonball and sending eerie organ chords through the tents of the swamis. He moved on, playing the organ in a burlesque house in Los Angeles, and had a brief affair with a stripper named Marilyn Monroe. The person who owns the building itself, I can't remember the name of it. It's still there in Los Angeles. But the owner has come out and stated that there was actually never any proof that Marilyn Monroe was there. I think it's probably likely that she was there. Obviously, she would have been Norma Jean at that point, not Marilyn Monroe. But people get weird about Marilyn Monroe. So, anything to, screw up her reputation or whatever, which I don't understand at this point. It's like, that's not going to screw up her reputation. However, Marilyn's fans, Marilyn's friends, and almost everyone like in her circle wanted her to have nothing to do with Anton LaVey. So if they were going to lie about it, just to make that separation between the two figures, I would not be surprised, is what I'm saying. Anyways, when he joined the San Francisco Police Department as a criminologist, he specialized in nutcases, which I think is funny, oddballs who believed in demons and haunted houses. And by the mid-1950s, this son of a traveling liquor salesman, that's the important part right there. So 75, I mean, this is what I understand. Nobody knows where that source came from. I don't know if this is something that Anton, that he's the source of the information, because obviously this is 75. It's not, at least the original article might be sourced. I doubt it though. Anyways, so there is some evidence right there that his dad was a traveling liquor salesman, which at the time would have meant he was involved with the mob. There's some other evidence that we'll get into pointing to mob connections, because that's kind of important. Anyways, liquor salesman could be glimpsed on foggy nights, walking along the bay in a dark overcoat with a leopard at his side, I assume. Soon he became the city's official convention organist, and he bought the old 13-room house of the most famous madam of the Barbary Coast heyday. He painted it black and began to conduct a magic circle at midnight each Friday. His mysterious reputation began to grow. This is true. So this is really where people started coming to see him. This is where his reputation grew. This is when he turned into what we all know as the leader of the Church of Satan. Let's see, because the Church of Satan actually came way later in his life. So, but you've got to remember the people that were coming to his lectures, because it wasn't just like, oh, this is a house where the spooky guy lives. Like, no, it was an active church, at least legally, where, he would give seminars, they would hold dinners. And this is San Francisco in the late 60s. So the beatniks and the hippies and everything considered Anton LaVey to be very chic. He was like the next big thing, right? Like, he was growing, he was popular. Women wanted to be with him and men wanted to be like him. Bunch of fucking weirdos, in my opinion. But that is just how it is. Everyone loved him. At least there, in this city, he was very, very popular. And everyone wanted to be around him. I find it interesting though, and maybe you guys will too, is that for one, he was in San Francisco, like at the epicenter of like the hippie cultural movement, which every one of every one of my viewers should know at this point was basically invented by the CIA. I mean, LSD was being pushed, MK Ultra was being ran at the free clinic. Like there's just so many connections. And it's so he wrote or established the church in 66, wrote the Satanic Bible in 67 or stole it or whatever, doesn't matter. He was like an inch ahead of the cultural revolution happening. I just find that incredibly interesting timing. And this is allegedly a man with high up behind the scenes connections that are very spooky, not with just our intelligence organizations, but also like Interpol and Mossad. We'll get into those. However, I just find the timing of it all interesting. He's super lucky, I guess, is what we'll go with. Let's see, I'm just making sure I have everything. So he was incredibly popular. In fact, see, I know I have this picture somewhere. Oh yeah. And you guys might have seen this picture. Let's see. Let me get it pulled up for you guys. Give me just one sec. This is an incredibly famous photo of him. So for anyone who doesn't know, this is a picture of Anton LaVey, Sammy Davis Jr., and little Mikey Aquino. It's like, wow. And the crazy thing is, in my opinion, what's crazy is that, I mean, everyone wanted to be around him. So I think that is kind of downplayed, especially now, by former or even, former members of the Church of Satan. Everyone wanted to be around him. I mean, I personally believe that he did have a relationship with Jane Mansfield. That's just my opinion. But if they didn't have a relationship, then he is the best example of getting friend zoned I have ever seen. And honestly, that could be possible as well. Let's see here. But I mean, they did have a really, really close relationship. Now, there are rumors about exactly what was going on. Let's see if I've got those pulled up. There's a lot of information on him when you start like really digging. It's more than just what people saw on the news or what they saw, if they lived in San Francisco, whatever it may be. Let's see. Had a picture of him and Jane together. See, here it is. So him and Jane Mansfield. Wild. And apparently lots of people in her circle as well also did not enjoy the fact that she was friends with Anton LaVey. I can only take a few guesses why, but yeah, he was not liked by her family or her friends from what I understand. And I guess what the official reporting is anyways. Let's see. So there was one, the curse. So the story around all of this, let's see. So Kim Novak, Sammy Davis. Okay. Do I have this? Okay. So actually, I guess the article that I had, right? Yeah. So the article I had, pull that back up. Here I am looking for something, and it was right in front of my face. Go figure. So this article actually talks about all the people that wanted to come see him. So it says here, let's see if I can find it, but it says Kim Novak, Sammy Davis Jr., and a number of politicians and businessmen quietly affiliated. It was a select membership long before he acquired the coveted convent in Italy, the mansion in Bavaria, the 3 ocean-going salvage ships at his disposal in Belfast, and a devoted Sicilian driver who chauffeured him in his black Buick and guarded his 1937 Cord. LaVey had let it be known that he was building an elite of the future. So, I mean, he was all about the spectacle of being an elite. And I find this incredibly interesting, but LaVey, and you guys might find this interesting too, but LaVey was like, he was what people today would consider far right. He absolutely hated the hippies. He hated the counterculture revolution. He thought it was a waste of time. He thought the entire movement was just a waste of time, and it was setting humans back. I mean, he was actually quoted. Let's see. I don't know if I'll be able to find this one, but there's a quote floating around somewhere where he is discussing exactly why he believes that there needs to be a very strong and very well-funded police force all across the nation. Basically taking the authoritarian route that, it's either a strong police force or pure anarchy. I think that's a lazy way of thinking. That's not exactly how things would go, but I'm not going to get into that type of discussion tonight. Let's see, where is this? I didn't actually plan on talking about that, so, which is why I don't have it. So, yeah, I don't know. It is out there though. You can find it. Finish looking here. I don't know. Okay, so speaking about how popular he was, there's another source. It's from a book. It's called Painted Black by Carl Raschke, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. The book came out in 1990. And there is a quote on page 118. I don't have the book. I don't believe it's anywhere out there, at least that I've been able to find, or that other people who have been looking for it have been able to find. But it is out there. So once again, the book is called Painted Black. Speaking of the Church of Satan House, by Carl Raschke, 1990. This quote comes from page 118 of Painted Black by Carl Raschke, and the quote is, "A contemporary observer noted that in attendance at both the magic seminars and the rituals of the Church of Satan were physicians, lawyers, engineers, teachers, former members of the FBI, IBM executives, and even street cleaners. At one gathering of 8, half were either PhDs or PhD candidates." The same writer noted that LaVey was never raided because he had a warm relationship with the San Francisco police. End quote. So Once again, he was incredibly popular with people. People wanted to be around him. And you got to give him this. He did have a sense of humor. You might not like his sense of humor, but he had one. So, you know, it is what it is. Let's see here. So start getting rid of some of this. So whether Satanists or anybody else likes it or not, he played a massive role in this. I don't like the fact that it was, ultimate hedonism being popularized and everything. But you know what? Even if that happens, I believe the other side has good enough arguments to be able to defeat it just on that alone. So it's not that big of a deal, although it's just one more minefield to avoid, Also, I mean, doing this show to try and beat their propaganda in the first place. So there's been other allegations. Once again, allegedly there's intelligence community ties. The biggest one being that he was involved in a national crime syndicate. It never really gets named anywhere. Allegedly, like I said earlier, his father was reportedly a traveling liquor salesman in Chicago during Prohibition. And then I don't believe that this has been confirmed. I could be wrong. I haven't been able to personally confirm it, but there was apparently a connection between Anton LaVey with Bugsy Siegel and Meyer Lansky. Meyer Lansky, I tend to believe that one more so than Bugsy Siegel. However, they both seem incredibly plausible. And for anyone who doesn't know, both of those people are incredibly well-known and well-established gangsters. So Meyer Lansky was actually head of the Jewish mob, I believe. Definitely the Jewish mob. Can't remember if he was in charge of the whole thing or not. Okay, so let me get this other picture pulled up. So once again, we are at the point where, I mean, he is just insanely popular, right? And there's all sorts of people coming to see him. Now, there's a couple of people that I would like to highlight, or a few people that I would like to highlight that ended up coming to the Church of Satan, attending some seminars, becoming full-fledged members, or just trying to do business with LaVey. Like, there were all sorts of different levels of being connected with these people. However, the people of real the people he is connected to, in my opinion, that matter the most are some of the people that follow. So a fellow member who was Susan Atkins, she was a very well-known member. Susan Atkins, member of the Manson family. For those who do not know, it is confirmed through and through that she was a full-fledged member, attended rituals quite often. There's also another former topless dancer in LaVey's church. I haven't been able to find a name, but some former topless dancer from the church who was also in the Manson family. Another person that he is associated with of note is Bobby Bousselet, an associate of LaVey's and close friend of Kenneth Anger. So some big names that will definitely come up probably throughout all of my research at some point or another. The one that stands out to me the most is Thomas Creech. Thomas Creech was never officially a member, but he did attend some Church of Satan rituals as a young man who had drifted to San Francisco. Thomas Creech later went on to be satanically oriented killer for a nationwide organized crime syndicate. So he was, it's confirmed that he was most definitely involved in a satanic cult that took murder for hire jobs. Thomas Creech, if I'm remembering correctly, is the same person who was running with Ted Bundy, or that Creech alleged that Ted Bundy was running with him. I can't remember exactly. It's been a minute since I've looked at all of that. Now, I think the most well-known name associated with him was Richard Ramirez, an overtly satanic serial killer who grew up in Juarez, Mexico. The most important part of Richard Ramirez's background, in my opinion, is that he was influenced by his cousin Mike. His cousin Mike was a member of a very, very well decorated member of the Phoenix program out of Vietnam. The Phoenix program, for anyone who doesn't know, it's basically turning soldiers into the worst possible killers, serial killers, and criminals that you can possibly think of, allowing them to commit the most heinous acts of torture and war crimes imaginable, and giving them a pat on the back for it. We've covered Phoenix before. We need to go, we as in this channel needs to go a lot more in depth to that. I do have the documents. I've got the books. So we'll probably do that soon. The whole idea of Dave McGowan's Program to Kill is the idea that the Phoenix program didn't end, but it actually just came home, which I wholeheartedly agree with. I think that's exactly what happened. I think the Phoenix program was like the last beta test for this program to be able to see if it was going to work or not. And boy, did it work, and boy, did it come home. Let's see here. I think we got through, last week we got through some of the theory of Satanism. Yeah, we got through the 9 satanic statements. So we still need to go through 11 satanic rules of the earth and the 9 satanic sins. Let's do the 9 satanic sins just real quick. We're just going to power through these. There they go. Okay, so the 9 satanic sins. I'm just going to wet my whistle, and we're just going to read through all of this. I'm not going to give too much commentary until later. Okay, so the 9 satanic sins. Number 1, stupidity. The top of the list for satanic sins. The cardinal sin of Satanism. It's too bad that stupidity isn't painful. Ignorance is one thing, but our society thrives increasingly on stupidity. It depends on people going along with whatever they are told. The media promotes a cultivated stupidity as a posture that is not only acceptable, but laudable. Satanists must learn to see through the tricks and cannot afford to be stupid. Okay, the one that cracks me up every time. Number 2, pretentiousness. Satanists are the most pretentious people I have ever met on the face of the planet. Like, it is so bad, which is hilarious to me because most Satanists will typically lean politically left and politically like far left. I don't know if that's how it was always, but granted, the people on, the conservative side do exist, but a vast majority of them are going to be left wing, and the left is also incredibly pretentious. So the fact that this is a satanic sin is hilarious to me. Pretentiousness, empty posturing can be most irritating and isn't applying the cardinal rules of lesser magic on equal footing with stupidity for what keeps the money in circulation these days. Everyone's made to feel like a big shot when whether they can come up with the goods or not. Number 3, solipsism. Solipsism can be very dangerous for Satanists, projecting your reactions, responses, and sensibilities onto someone who is probably far less attuned than you are. It is the mistake of expecting people to give you the same consideration, courtesy, and respect that you naturally give them. They won't. Instead, Satanists must strive to apply the dictum of do unto others as they do unto you. It's work for most of us and requires constant vigilance, lest you slip into a comfortable illusion of everyone being like you. As has been said, certain utopias would be ideal in a nation of philosophers, but unfortunately, or perhaps fortunately, from a Machiavellian standpoint, we are far from that point. Number 4, self-deceit. It is the 9 satanic statements, but deserves to be repeated here. Another cardinal sin. We must not pay homage to any of the sacred cows presented to us, including the roles we are expected to play ourselves. The only time self-deceit should be entertained or entered into is when it's fun and with awareness, but then it's not self-deceit. Number 5, herd conformity. Once again, hilarious to me. Herd conformity. That's obvious from a satanic stance. It's all right to conform to a person's wishes if it ultimately benefits you, but only fools follow along with the herd, letting an impersonal entity dictate to you. The key is to choose a master wisely instead of being enslaved by the whims of the many. Okay, just the very fact that they exist together as an organization kind of goes against this herd conformity thing. Because, okay, so they're not following the herd conformity of Christianity or whatever other religion. Okay, good for you. But now you've got, granted, a smaller herd, but it's still a herd of Satanists that you've now got to follow. And in fact, when I was a Satanist, one of the things that, the local, other Satanists didn't like about me is I actually adhered to this aspect very well. I was approached several times about becoming a part of different groups or leading different groups, and I never wanted to. That was not of interest to me. I didn't want to run other people because at the time, the thought process was, well, if I'm leading other people like that, then it's going to naturally in itself form, a sense of disconnect between me and somebody else, as if I had like a higher level of importance or something like that. And at the time, I just not jiving on that. I did not want to do that. I didn't want followers. I wasn't interested in power like that. But I sure as hell was not going to bend the knee to somebody else. So, eventually I stopped getting invites, which at this point is fine. There's a lot more people out there doing, cults and covens and, just satanic groups and stuff. In fact, there's one, I won't mention any names, but there's one that meets at the main Salt Lake City library downtown. You'll have to fight off homeless people to get up to where it is. I think it was once a month where they would meet, be just kind of like really like a social group, I guess. Like they didn't really do anything, like they didn't hold seances or do rituals or anything, at least as a group. I'm sure they might have with other people, but this was literally just like a satanic book club or like a coffee group or something. Really boring. So they are out there. You can find them. And in fact, I keep seeing like after school Satanist after school programs pop up. Apparently that's a thing like everywhere. They just opened up a new one in Vegas, I think, or Nevada, somewhere in Nevada. I don't know. They are all over the place. So, anyways, lack of perspective. Number 6. Again, this one can lead to a lot of pain for a Satanist. You must never lose sight of who and what you are and what a threat you can be by your very existence. We are making history right now, every day. Always keep the wider historical and social picture in mind. That is an important key to both lesser and greater magic. See the patterns and fit things together as you want the pieces to fall into place. Do not be swayed by herd constraints. Know that you are working on another level entirely from the rest of the world. Once again, that pretentiousness right there. Number 7, forgetfulness and past orthodoxies. Be aware that this is one of the keys to brainwashing people into accepting something new and different, when in reality, it's something that was once widely accepted, but is now presented in a new package. We are expected to rave about the genius of the creator and forget the original. This makes for a disposable society. So the forgetfulness of past orthodoxies, I think it's interesting, be aware that this is one of the keys to brainwashing people into accepting something new and different. So Satanists, they have this attitude of like, we're so much better because we don't believe in Christianity, but they've just replaced one dogma with another is the problem. But they don't see it that way, not at all. And neither do atheists, because as far as the type of Satanists we're talking about right now is LaVeyan Satanism, which is atheistic. Now, that is also the largest criticism of LaVeyan Satanism by other Satanists, by theistic Satanists, like Michael Aquino. And we're almost there, so gear up for that. But they're, even within their writings, it's all contradictory, right? It takes a lot to believe it. Well, actually, it didn't take me a lot. It was just, I didn't even think about the contradictions. Didn't even look at it that way, honestly. And I will say, I'm not very proud of this, but I totally did think I was better than everyone. Even other Satanists, like, totally did pull the whole, like, you're not a real Satanist. Like, I know what's going on. Yeah. Like I said, not proud of that. That's what I'm doing here now. Let's see. Number 8, counterproductive pride. That first word is important. Pride is great up to a point you begin to throw out the baby with the bathwater. The rule of Satanism is, if it works for you, great. When it stops working for you, when you've painted yourself into a corner, and the only way out is to say, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, I wish we could compromise somehow, then do it. Yeah, I mean, I think pride is one of the unjust pride is one of the worst things that you can do for yourself and like your mental health and everything. It's one thing to be prideful of something you've accomplished, something you've done, something you're doing, but pride and just something because, like, this is why I don't understand anything. Like, I was born as something, so therefore I'm proud of it. You didn't have any choice in that. That doesn't mean anything. Why don't you go accomplish something and then be proud of it? Okay, let's wrap up this segment so we can get on to the meat and potatoes. Let's see, number 9, lack of aesthetics. This is the physical application of the balance factor. Aesthetics is important in lesser magic and should be cultivated. It is obvious that no one can collect any money off classical standards of beauty and form most of the time, so they are discouraged in a consumer society. But an eye for beauty, for balance, is an essential satanic tool and must be applied for greatest magical effectiveness. It's not what's supposed to be pleasing, it's what is. Aesthetics is a personal thing, reflective of one's own nature. but there are universally pleasing and harmonious configurations that should not be denied. Okay, so there are the 9 satanic sins. I think these are probably more important than, like the 9 satanic rules or whatever. They're all important, but from the Satanist standpoint, the 9 satanic sins come up a lot more than the others. So, all right. See, let's check in the chat real quick. Haven't popped over here for a minute with you lovely people. Once again, I would like to say thank you so much for joining tonight for another episode of Rise to Liberty. It really does mean the absolute world to me that you guys would sit and listen to the things I say. And because you do, it is incredibly important to me to do the absolute best I can. Granted, I understand maybe not always on top of my game, but that's never through a fault of me not trying. So, but hopefully, things are going well tonight. I'm enjoying myself. I'm trying to get a lot of information without dragging it out too long. So hopefully that's working. Let's see here. I'm trying to make sure we got everything. We're good. We're good. You're good. You're good. Let's see. Switching on us. Okay, so basically we've established Anton LaVey. He was huge, basically. Like, he was such a massive counterculture figure. Like, it was just, I can't even think of somebody to compare him to even just like given an equivalent. But it was obviously, for middle America, it's going to be shocking. The Church of Satan is the very first organization to use this sort of imagery and to have this sort of mentality publicly. And not just publicly, but Anton would take any press he possibly could at all, at any time. In fact, also one of the criticisms of, former members that ended up going with Aquino is that he was literally just all about the attention. And it's like, well, if you're trying to grow an organization, you kind of got to be. So I don't think it's a fair criticism. You want your organization out there, but, no true Scotsman. Anyways, let's see here. So a couple of things to finish up on with LaVey. Does this have it? Okay, so for anyone who doesn't know, one of the largest turning points for Satanism, I guess, was the release of Rosemary's Baby. I still disagree with the fact that, this is the movie that turned everyone into a Satanist, as some people tend to portray it as. But it was incredibly impactful, right? Like, it had a massive impact on everyone. Well, sort of. Anyone who's just listening, Satanists are just swingers that can't get laid. They get laid a lot. It's a problem. It's definitely a problem. So I personally don't believe that Rosemary's Baby is, and I wasn't there when it was released, so maybe you would have had to have been there. It's like trying to explain the impact of, I don't know, the Blair Witch without having been alive or been there to see, exactly how crazy things got. I remember it. I remember exactly how everyone thought it was real. I remember when that, the promotional documentary came out, and everyone was like blown away, and they were like, oh my God, where's, the students? Oh my God, they really disappeared. Like, it was a big deal. So my opinion, just from the way that I see things, I've read things, it does seem impactful, but it doesn't seem like this huge tipping point. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Let's see here. Nicholas Schreck, born 1958 or 1959, is an American singer-songwriter, author, and filmmaker. Schreck founded the music and performance collective Radio Werewolf. That's an important name, so jot that down in your guys' notebooks or whatever. And was the co-founder of Abraxas or Abraxix. I've heard both. Foundation. He was formerly a Satanist and affiliated with the Church of Satan. Let's see. And Schreck has written several books and directed the 1989 documentary Charles Manson Superstar. Him and Manson were actually really good friends. He went to go visit him several times while he was in prison. I believe he has some of his ashes he hangs around his neck in a necklace. It's weird. It's one thing. Like, I spend a lot of time researching serial killers and stuff. I don't think of these people as my friends. I don't worship these people. I think they're vile people. It's weird. It's weird. Now, the other side of it, I am into oddities. I am an oddities collector. Maybe I should break out some of the stuff one day. I think that might be kind of an interesting addition to this series, because some of it is satanic related. So yeah, I think I'll do that at a later date, but I understand the collecting of something odd or weird, dark, macabre, whatever. I get that. But because he was also like building a friendship with him, and the way he talks about Manson is like he's just this amazing person and everything, that's what makes it odd to me. If somebody had a John Wayne Gacy painting in their house, I wouldn't find it odd unless they were like, here's a stack of letters where I made friends with John, and he sent me this painting personally without me like that. I would find weird, right? Of course, some people find it weird having anything like that at all. Anyways, let's see. I'm hoping the same, man. They just got big old ad contracts, so we will see. It could help improve the blah, 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 blah. Yep. Let's see. It's darker than we can ever imagine. Me and another guy uncovered the biggest satanic ring here in the UK around 2012. Whoa. And then got shadow banned. The government is 100% in on it. I'm assume I could probably find that up, right? Or look that up, correct? Wish I would have seen this comment earlier, but I see it now. I am incredibly interested in this story. If there is any possible way that you could send me some information or, give me a direction to be able to find things in, I would be more than ecstatic. I would love to be able to talk about it too. If there's any way you could send me some stuff or get a hold of me, you can actually just head on over to my master link. Actually, it's in the episode description. So all you got to do is, let's see, pull it up for you. Go to my master link, and then right at the very bottom, RTL contact info, and it will, you can email me. It's rise, RISE, period, TO, period, liberty, BERTY, period, rising, RISING, 947 at passmail.net. That's why I didn't really want to read it. It's long, confusing, but it is there. So I would be more than interested in hearing what you have to say, what you guys were able to find, some news articles, anything. Feel free to send some stuff over. Yeah, that's wild, man. That is absolutely wild. I actually, I haven't said too much about it because unfortunately I haven't been able to dig. I've kind of reached a roadblock because I don't have the technical abilities needed to be able to keep digging further. I mean, I'm pretty damn good on computers, but no, I need to be, I need skills that there's just no way I could learn overnight. But I'm 96% sure I've stumbled upon a trafficking ring. But there's just nothing I can do about it. That I just don't have the technical know-how. So unfortunately, it's just one of those things, and honestly, probably for the best, otherwise, I'd be all over that. Although it's still up here. I still have some of the information. So one day, let's see. I've heard a crazy theory about Sharon Tate's unborn baby was Rosemary's baby. Crazy, right? That is. I have also heard that theory. Who knows? I don't think so. But also, at this point, everything is just so wild. I wouldn't be surprised, if that was true, if that were true. Yeah. Yes, correction. Shrek Abraxas Foundation. Yeah, they're all over the world too. They come up in the Dutroux case quite a bit as well. Definitely break out your oddities. Yeah, I'll do that in a future episode. Maybe when I don't have something planned. That would be fun. Let's see. I listened to Acid Bath and they use Gacy's art on covers. Wait a minute, that might be a bad example because they also have lyrics like drop some acid killer parents. Right. I mean, I still listen to some pretty dark shit. So, I mean, there's some stuff I won't listen to anymore, mainly black metal stuff. That's pretty much, I don't feel the need to listen to that stuff anymore. But yeah, I do still listen to all sorts of stuff like that. I think it's a little bit different if you understand what you're doing. I'm not about to, let a child listen. But I understand what's going on. I understand what I'm putting into my brain hole. So it doesn't mean that it is less dangerous or anything, but I'm an adult. I can decide what to do. So just like everyone else here. Let's see. There was a brownstone next to a place I used to work. This chick was also a nurse and she worked for Dean Martin. Interesting. Dean Martin had a room with oddities she found and got fired for entering. I've heard a lot of super rich people have areas of their house that the help's never allowed to go. I don't know if you guys saw the photos. So being from Utah, one of the largest celebrities to come out of here is Donnie and Marie Osmond, right? Super wholesome. It's like the ABBA of Utah, I guess. It's like they're huge. I mean, they're huge all over the world, but because they're from here and because they're LDS and stuff, it's just on another level. But one of their former homes was being sold earlier this year, and the realtor released some photos of what they called a steam room it was white tile all the way around. It did look kind of like a steam room, except there was an altar in the middle, a small altar, not an adult size altar, but it was tiny. Everything was white. There was a drain in the middle of the room. water access, I'm sure, somewhere, but it was incredibly odd. If I can find those pictures, I will. But yeah, there's some rich people with some fucked up things. Let's see. Contained a skull. I don't know if you remember, Jacob, but that was where I learned about that how do you wrap glands video from. Oh yeah, right. I do remember that video. Let's see. You're doing great. I'm never on top of my game. I appreciate you spending the time, man. Thank you for being here. You know, that's what makes it all worthwhile. Yeah, Venom, their first album is actually pretty great. I know this is probably like a big trigger. I don't necessarily consider them black metal, not because they're not from like Norway or Sweden or whatever. I just view them as like pre-black metal. You know, they were black metal before it was cool. It's just, you know, I don't know. I think they spawned what later became black metal. I don't consider them black metal, you know. I guess comparatively to like other people, especially at the time, yeah, definitely. Look at them, listen to the music. I get it. I just personally don't consider them black metal. Nicholas Schreck is full of that pretentiousness. Yes, him and Xena both. They are both just like, oh my lord. I just call it research now. Yeah, pretty much. That's why I just call myself a researcher, because it's just like, yeah, I get it. Interesting. A call-in aspect concerning this subject. All right. So there are going to be different episodes because I plan on there being so many. I'll probably, I was thinking about this, do some episodes where it's just live researching. So it might actually be kind of boring for some of you guys because we're just going to sit and read documents and dig through the internet and stuff. I don't know. Some people might find it fun, but I was going to do some like research segments, going to do, you know, like movie nights and stuff. Like we'll go through and watch Rosemary's Baby. You know, we'll pull up some different music and like all this other stuff. So a call-in portion actually would be a good idea. I'll put that on the list. Right. Yes, that's exactly right. It was very, very similar to the same thing. Right. Yeah, Black Metal is the title of the first album. It is a really good album, honestly. All right, let's get back into this. Once again, anyone has any sort of information, anything you think I might find interesting or anything you want to see on the show, feel free to contact me. You can head down to the episode description and you can hit my master link, which look at all of these links, several different ways to be able to, you know, donate, support me, all sorts of other things. You can get your fill of me, I promise. So let's see. So we've pretty much wrapped up with most of what I wanted to cover about Anton. Now he is going to be showing up throughout. So even though, you know, we're done with the main focus of him, he is still going to be showing up relatively often. Let's see. Just making sure I got everything correct. What the hell is going on here? Okay, there we go. Just got to make sure and keep track of my links. That way I can provide them for you guys later. So for anyone who doesn't know or who has never seen it, in Rosemary's Baby, Anton LaVey was actually a consultant for the film. That's pretty well known. I didn't know he actually plays a bit part in the role, or in the movie. Um, and maybe I did know that at some point. It just kind of like slipped my mind, but I had forgotten that he actually was in Rosemary's Baby for a minute. So, I mean, that's kind of a big deal. That's kind of a big deal because at the time, I mean, let's see, Rosemary's Baby. So what, 68? Let me pull that up real quick. I don't want to get that wrong. I should have that memorized, but hey, whatever. Let's see. Rosemary's Baby. Yeah, 1968. So I did have it right. Might as well just pull it up. So yeah, Rosemary's Baby. Damn. 8.0 out of 10. Yep, directed by Roman Polanski, however you pronounce it. Roman, super Polish name. I don't know if they have actually any pictures of Anton. It is a very good movie if you guys have never seen it. There is a program that I can run for like group live streams. Like I won't live stream the movie itself, but I'll be able to put together a like a watch party thing. So like when you do pull it up, you'll see me streaming. The people streaming won't, or like watching it on YouTube. Well, it won't be available just to the general public. It will be invite only. So you'll have to like sign up for it. But if you jump into it, you'll be able to see the movie. It just won't be recorded like how I do with some of like the music and stuff like that. I don't want to get my channel taken down just for that, but there's clever ways we can do it and we'll get it done because it would be fun. Anyways, so Anton was in Rosemary's Baby, which I guess for that point, it is a huge turning point for Satanism. And mind you, 1968, so we're talking pre-Manson. We are in the middle of, the summer of love. We're talking San Francisco, California. We've got Laurel Canyon going like full steam ahead. So like we are in the thick of the Psyop. Let's see here. So church activities. Okay, so there is one thing to talk about regarding the Sharon Tate case. Let's see, mob and intelligence. There is speculation or assumption that LaVey was actually not just like had connections to intelligence, but that he was actually running guns for Israeli intelligence. Now, I have looked at some of this, but some of it I have not. And so I'm going to leave that out for now. But we are going to come back to that because I think that's a rather huge aspect of this. So he would have been running guns allegedly in the 1940s. So there's a whole lot of information that's still like up in the air about that stuff that hasn't been found. However, before we move on from that, let's see, let's pull this up. So anyone who is curious, there is, let's see, pull this up. Okay, so there is this book that you can go download. Once again, this will be provided in the episode description after the show. So this is from the San Francisco Police Department intelligence work. It's from a book called Forbidden Science, something I had never heard of. Let's see, but it's Anatomy of a Phenomenon in volume 2. on page 333. I'd pull up the page, but unfortunately, I don't actually have the document. But I do have the quote here. So page 333, this is supposed to be Belmont, Sunday, 25th of April, 1976. Not really sure the context of who's talking here. However, the quote is, I've confronted Anton with the Flick-Klinger report on munitions, which specifically mentions his group. He tried to tell me it was a fabrication by the hippies at the Berkeley Barb. I laughed at this. Flick-Klinger is a federal agent with the Treasury Department, not a bearded leftist. So Anton, his back to the wall, pulled out his wallet and showed me his badge of the San Francisco Police Department. I'd have known about it if the San Francisco PD had uncovered serious evidence. I work closely with their intelligence unit. They call on me when they have a crime that involves witchcraft or cults, like the murder of Daly City a year ago. So, allegedly, that was a quote from LaVey himself. Whether he said that, I don't know. I haven't looked into it enough. However, it does track. It does track, and it makes a lot of sense. I mean, why wouldn't he be? And it is confirmed once again that he did work with San Francisco Police Department. He was a photographer. Wow, I don't know why I was struggling on that one. He was a crime scene photographer for San Francisco Police Department. I also know at this time that, police forces, especially in big cities in the 60s, 70s, 80s, well, even now, they definitely had their own intelligence branch of the police department. They were often contacted by CIA, FBI, or whatever because of, groups they had in their city, like the Black Panthers or, the KKK or just whatever, the Students for a Democratic Society or whatever. You had all of these revolutionary leftist groups popping up, and you had the state wanting to come in and crack down on them. So it just makes so much sense, not to mention San Francisco in 1968, crawling with spooks. It's like the entire city just glows, So it's incredibly plausible. I just haven't looked into it enough to be like, yep, this is exactly what happened. Although I do lean towards that. So we will touch on that more. LaVey's mob and apparent intelligence connection. So yeah, let's now one of the big things before we finally wrap up on LaVey and we'll move to Michael Aquino. One of the big things that happened after the 60s is actually Anton LaVey getting caught up in a 1980 attempted assassination against Ted Kennedy. This is like a big deal, obviously. See, I didn't have this actually pulled up, so let's just get it up now. Here we go. This over there for you people. Okay. Satan, the FBI, the mob, and the forgotten plot to kill Ted Kennedy. During the 1980 presidential campaign, a notorious Hollywood Satanist was linked to a plot to murder the third Kennedy brother, uncovered documents below. It's actually a pretty cool picture. In fact, I might steal that. I like finding cool pictures like that and using them as my wallpapers. So, yeah, that's probably going to get taken as a wallpaper. Let's see. David Gamperchata is a writer. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. One thing I always do, I always want to go see who is writing this article. This is something you should also do. Anytime you read an article, just go see who's writing it. Just go see. See, does he not have a let's see. Let's just go type him into X real quick. If I find anything, I'll bring him up. But yeah, always just go see. Just go see who it is. There's a lot that can tell you. Here he is. Let's see. Okay. So here he is. Joined in 2012. Let's go see. Wow. Okay. Hardly any information there. By day, I write about politics for the Philadelphia Daily News. By night, I try to make sense of what the hell happened during the day. That's actually a pretty good bio. Anyway, so, I mean, this is who we are talking about. That is a shit photo. Yeah, it doesn't look like he's posted since 2013. So, I don't know, but that's who he is. Okay, so we're not going to read this whole thing, but we'll move through some of it. Let's see. The FBI and Secret Service agents made their way through the streets of San Francisco's foggy Richmond District neighborhood, about 2 miles from the Golden Gate Bridge, toward a narrow Victorian house that looked like it had tumbled out of the shadows of Alfred Hitchcock's imagination. The building rose 2 floors to a sharply pitched roof. Nearly every inch of the exterior had been painted the color of midnight. Of course, he's talking about the Black Home. Anyone that's never seen that, let's see. Let's get to the meat and potatoes of this. Let's see. It was called The Black House. Yep. Middle-aged man with a goatee, Anton LaVey. No introductions were necessary. Let's see. Okay, a day earlier, Senator Ted Kennedy had left San Francisco after campaigning for President Jimmy Carter, whose general election showdown with Ronald Reagan was inching closer. Excuse me. It had been a long, tumultuous year for Kennedy, who was then in his late 40s. He tried to wrest the Democratic presidential nomination from Carter. When that bid failed, okay, let's move on. Let's see, running for president had also awakened a fear that Kennedy had tried to hide from his closest confidants, that he would be assassinated just like his brothers, JFK and RFK. Anonymous tormentors had been sending Ted Kennedy handwritten threats since the late 60s. Teddy has to die, promised a note that was once mailed to his father. The death threats only multiplied when Kennedy was on the campaign trail in 1980. He had to be cautious of it. There was always a danger. Yeah, of course, he's a Kennedy running for politics. There were always nuts out there, and that's just the way it was. Yeah, there's also programmed assassins, too. So, that is what it is. Let's see. What Kennedy, Shrum, and a handful of other staffers didn't know was that one morning, that October, teletype machines had clattered to life in FBI field offices across the country with a fresh transmission, 7 pages worth of new intelligence information. The bottom of the page contained a stark message: Senator Edward Kennedy, victim, congressional assassination statute. An informant had contacted the FBI office in downtown Chicago and explained that a plot to murder Kennedy was being set in motion. It's a story that has never been told until now, a bizarre piece of history that became public only when I discovered records of the investigation that the FBI quietly released in June in The Vault, the Bureau's online FOIA library. The files outlined a scheme that supposedly involved money, drugs, and the mob. And according to the informant, the ringleader, the man who allegedly wanted Ted Kennedy dead, was none other than Anton LaVey. Okay, well, let's see. War was raging in Vietnam. Flower power was blossoming at home. The Mamas and the Papas Southern California groove was all over the radio. Yes, the CIA was all over the radio. It was an ideal environment for provocateurs. A fact that was not lost on LaVey. Yep. Let's see. Invented a new role for himself, shaving his head. And if anyone's ever seen him with hair, he looks incredibly strange. It's like seeing Joe Rogan with hair now, you know. It's just doesn't work. P.T. Barnum had a circus tent and LaVey had a black house. Blah blah blah. Okay, let's get to. I don't want to read all this fluff. Wrestling, okay. Let's see. In March 1980, a tipster in Charlotte, North Carolina, contacted the police after overhearing a group of men in a movie theater bragging that they planned to assassinate Kennedy in Pittsburgh with some stolen M16 rifles. A campaign volunteer to Trenton, New Jersey, received a phone call from a man who vowed to gun down the senator when he visited the city in May. Aside from blurting, quote, "They're going to shoot my ass off the way they shot Bobby," end quote, while on a congressional flight back from Alaska, Kennedy shied away from sharing his assassination fears with aides or family members. Instead, okay, let's see. Man, this is kind of a fluffy article, you know? Let's see. Okay. The informant who contacted the FBI in 1980 said he'd received a phone call also on October 20th. The caller had identified himself as LaVey. The informant claimed and disclosed that he wanted the man's help with a plan to murder Ted Kennedy. You know, that's doesn't really sound smart to do over the phone, even back then. The FBI and Secret Service knew two things for certain. LaVey still lived in San Francisco, and they needed to get a handle on the case and quick. Okay, now here's one reason I don't know if I exactly believe this, because at the time, LaVey, along with being super popular, would always have like people like working for him or people around him that were like the rejects of society. Like, for instance, early on, he would have some of the members from McCarthy's like blacklist or his black book, you know, the people that were labeled communists that could no longer work in, you know, the entertainment industry. Anton LaVey would hire these people to come work for him. So he had people around him that were being surveilled almost his, you know, entire professional life is what you'd call it, I guess. His entire satanic career or scam, whatever. So that just seems weird to me. And he knew that he was being followed because of employing these people. So I don't know. That's kind of a weird, like, do I really think Anton LaVey is going to pick up the phone and, you know, blurt out like, I want to try and kill Ted Kennedy on the phone when he knows he's being followed and stuff? That that doesn't line up. That doesn't jive. Let's see. The FBI San Francisco office pulled records it had on LaVey dating back to the mid-70s when a tipster told the Bureau that LaVey had purchased handguns, a shotgun, and a rifle. So what? Other files showed that LaVey had once supposedly been interested in joining the National Socialist White People's Party, which had been known in an earlier incarnation as the American Nazi Party. I mean, as far as I understand, he wasn't a socialist. He didn't really give a shit about race. So that's, I don't know if I buy that. I don't know if I buy that. I would just need more like confirmation he did, not just an article from, mainstream media. Oh yeah, let's just believe Mockingbird Media all of a sudden. Yeah, get out of here. LaVey had no arrest history, but he had been linked to a tragedy once before. Yeah, Jane Mansfield. Let's see. He died in a car crash not long after. Interesting side note. When you're driving behind a semi and on their trailers, they have that little step bar. So you've got the big doors that open up, that hold the cargo back and everything. And then they sit on the axle, but then there's that bar below the doors above the asphalt. And it kind of is like blocking in between the tires and everything. The reason that bar is there is because of the Jane Mansfield crash. Because there were no like lights on the truck, any like lights or reflectors for them to be able to see in the dead of night. And I believe they call that part of the tractor trailer now the Mansfield bar or something like that. But yeah, when you see that little aluminum bar, I think most trailers are made out of aluminum. But yeah, that drop down bar in the end of a trailer for an 18-wheeler. Yeah, it's like the Mansfield bar or something like that. But that's because of that crash. Anyways, side note. Let's see. In 1967, not long after the hex was supposedly cast, Brody and Mansfield were killed in a wreck on a highway near New Orleans. The impossible implication that LaVey inadvertently caused Mansfield's death persisted long enough to fuel a 2017 documentary, Mansfield 66-67. I bet that's an interesting documentary. I would watch that for sure. Let's see. So this was actually not the only time Anton LaVey had cursed somebody, and that person who was cursed ended up dead. It actually happened a few times. Let's see. I kind of just wanted to learn about this assassination stuff. Okay, well, I'm gonna put that in the show notes. So yes, Anton was allegedly involved in this 1980 assassination plot. Let's see. An informant had contacted the FBI, blah, blah, blah. Let's see. Here's the important quotes. The FBI's San Francisco office pulled records back to the 70s. Yeah, we all read that. Investigators returned to the Black House a second time on Halloween. And this time, when the door opened, they came face to face with LaVey. For years, he had enjoyed toying with people's imaginations, blurring the lines between performance and something darker. But now he was faced with no-nonsense federal agents, and they weren't in the mood to play around. LaVey checked his recent phone messages and noticed that he'd received calls from the Chicago area on October 23rd and October 27th, but he told the agents that he didn't know the identity of the caller and hadn't tried dialing the number that had been left for him. LaVey shared some surprising news with the agents. His role as the head of the church was all a charade. Most of the church's followers, he said, were fanatics, cultists, and weirdos. The records show, quote, his interest in the Church of Satan is strictly from a monetary point of view, end quote. The agents noted, quote, and spends most of his time furnishing interviews, writing material, and lately has become interested in photography, end quote. So now we have a FBI document stating the same thing, that he's not a real Satanist. I mean, not a real Satanist to who, you know? So here is the actual FBI documents. Once again, not going to go through all of this because I want to get to little Mikey Aquino. But we do got to go through some of this. So let's see. For information, Sacramento PD, let's see, 1980s, redacted, contacted the Chicago office and advised of a plot by a satanic cult to assassinate Senator Edward Kennedy. Redacted interviewed October 21st, 1980 by FBI and U.S. Secret Service, and advised that on October 20th, 1980, Redacted received a phone call at his residence from an individual identifying himself as Anton LaVey. LaVey is the founder and high priest of the Church of Satan, which is headquartered in San Francisco. LaVey told Redacted that he owed him a favor and wanted Redacted to deliver a package to Redacted. Reputed LCN boss on Chicago South Side, blah, blah, blah. Later that day, October 20th, 1980, Redacted was visited by a friend, Redacted, platonic, interesting, who is reported member of the Satanic Church. According to Redacted, visit was specifically to discuss the Satanic cult and the plot against Senator Redacted. I don't know why they would redact that part, but whatever. Let's see. Investigation at San Francisco through San Francisco Police Department intelligence and San Francisco files has determined that subject Anton LaVey is identical to Anton Sandsdor LaVey, described as high priest and founder of the Church of Satan, and resides at that address, phone number. He is married to Redacted, and Redacted LaVey described as why. Blah, blah, blah. I don't care about that. Let's see. So wait, I'm confused. There was two LaVeys? I don't quite understand exactly what they're saying. Let's see. Let's see if we can find something interesting. Directed letters to the Church of Satan threatening to bomb church and to shoot and stab member. Redacted on blank, but blank, blank. Man, whoever wrote this document sucks. So I guess they're just kind of going like through different potential legal issues that the church has had over the years, which makes sense. Church of Satan had recently acquired property in Ukiah, California, and had purchased handguns and double-barrel shotgun and a rifle Well, that doesn't mean anything. Everyone has the right to bear arms. Let's see, that redacted also carries weapons with him in the car and believed he may possess a permit to carry a concealed weapon. Anyone can carry concealed if you're not a bitch. Let's see. Furnished. Let's see. Letter states that he has placed explosives in hard to find places. The letter further states that he has placed 350 pounds of plastic explosives and 13 cases of dynamite in San Francisco. The bombs are allegedly set to go off at different times. He demands that an ad be placed in a personal column of the San Francisco Examiner newspaper and the Oakland Tribune newspaper. And let's see, $300,000 be paid to him. The letter includes map and location of pay, telephone and directions to policemen whose names are set forth in his letter. Let's see. Church of Satan, nor does it. Okay, so it should be noted that context of letter shows no reference to Church of Satan, nor does it carry religious or satanic overtones. San Francisco Police Intelligence advised most current information that subject LaVey continues to reside at the Black House, but is not personally active in the Church of Satan, having become disillusioned and now devotes his time to writing books. Okay, so that's a lot different than becoming disillusioned because all the people around you are shitheads. Is completely different than him never believing in this in the first place. That's kind of some important context. See, driver's license, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Mark, delete the determine this and that. All right. I mean, there's 55 pages. We're not going to go through this whole thing now. I'm actually going to save this probably for a later episode. So I'm going to go through page by page and find exactly what's going to be interesting about this. I want to find the part where they said that LaVey told agents his interest in the Church of Satan is strictly from a monetary point. Actually, in fact, maybe we could just let's see. Let's Control F that, shall we? Let's see. Do a little searching real quick. I mean, we're already here, so let's see. Monetary. Come on. No, nothing. Let's see. Huh. Okay. Okay, one last thing I can try and then we'll move on. We're almost done. We're almost out of here. Would like to thank all of you again just for tuning in. I don't think you guys quite understand exactly how much it means to me that you guys have decided to spend this time with me tonight, the eve of Thanksgiving. Hopefully it's been a good one. There's just a couple of things to quickly end on with Michael Aquino that I think are going to be very interesting. And then really, from here with Michael Aquino, this is when we start getting into some serious shit. So, I mean, any of the parents out there, I would just say, don't watch this around your kids. You are adults, so I guess you can make your own decision. However, moving forward, a lot of the stuff that we're going to be covering with Michael Aquino is not appropriate for little ears. It doesn't look like I can find anything, at least that way. So yeah, we're gonna save that for another time. Anyways, so yeah, everyone's their own person. They, they can make their own decision for their kids, their family, whatever. I'm just giving you a heads up that shit is gonna get dark. And I mean, I'm not going to be entirely gruesomely graphic, but there's some stuff we have to be, just because otherwise, like, we need the context to all of this. So let's see here. Let's move your guys' links over here. Move that one over. We'll move the FBI over. Then we will get to Aquino. So people might not understand, like, Michael Aquino was a huge supporter of Anton LaVey. Right. So there's actually most likely going to be a couple of episodes that are going to be like Rumble exclusives. So you'll still be able to watch them, just not on YouTube. We'll probably push the bounds with YouTube. But we'll figure out ways to go about this. We could always stream it live and then make it private, and then I can re-upload a like edited version. There's things that we can do. So duly noted, though. I appreciate you, Jacob. Thank you for all of this. Hey, I'm doing it for you guys. I've made my way through a lot of this stuff before. I just wanted somebody to share it with. I'm just glad you guys are enjoying it. So right. There's a lot of those people that have a, what did I call them? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez eyes, just like. Let's see. I met this satanic dude who said he lived under Golden Gate Park for 16 years, said there was an entire city under there of people. That I would not doubt. I mean, first of all, people have been living underground for as long as humans have existed. And I mean, there's like these crazy squatter communities all over the United States. They are literally just everywhere. So yeah, that actually would not surprise me. See, he discovered her before she was famous and before she changed her name to Marilyn Monroe. I don't remember exactly where I read that, to be honest. So allegedly, when she was being this stripper at the Mayan house or whatever it's called, was back before she was Marilyn. Her name was Norma Jean. And yeah, that's allegedly when Anton and her met. I don't know, that it's not like with James Mansfield. Like, there's a bunch of evidence that they were friends, that they had been around each other and stuff. With Marilyn, it's a lot different. So I think some of that stuff is still up in the air, but because he was so attractive to the opposite sex, he had no problem getting ladies. And because he was such a big deal, even when he was not like world known, he was still known in San Francisco all over the place. So it's very likely that he ran into Marilyn and knew her because she was a stripper at one point. I don't know. It's entirely plausible. I'm just not one of those people that are like, yes, this happened, without being able to see the evidence of it first, Right. Yeah, I've thought about doing that. We'll probably do that with some interviews where I'll give YouTube people a taste of the interview, and then we'll move everything over to Rumble. There's going to be some stuff that we're going to have to be really careful with, because for one, I'm not going to censor myself. I believe that you guys are more than capable of hearing the real information without being coddled or treated like little children. However, our big tech overlords don't agree with that. They do not believe that we can be adult about this. So we will find ways around that. So, you know, like I said, anytime something like this is going to come up, though, you guys will be the first to know. So keep that in mind. All right. So Michael Aquino was like a huge supporter. He was massively happy with Anton and being a member of the Church of Satan. Like they were like best friends almost. I mean, well, practically. Mikey considered Anton to be like, you know, his what did he call him? It was something so gross. It was like I can't remember, but it was weird. It was so fucking weird. It's like my Satan dad or something like that. Like looked up to him like a father figure, you know, but it was just like my devil dad. That's what it was. He's like my devil dad. What? Weird, man. Stop that. Just stop being so weird. It's just weird. Just weird. But yeah, I mean, Michael Aquino was all about it. He was there for it. He was helping build the church. I guess we could pull up that this picture again real quick. Young little Mikey. Young little Mikey. Let's see. There it is. Young little Mikey. Back before his eyebrows were super pointy. They're getting there, but they're not entirely there. So, see, I know there's another picture of him. I don't have it though. I couldn't find it earlier. But yeah, Michael Aquino was all for it. Like, and he was there for a while. One of the very first like genuine real members that took it serious. Now here's the big difference, and this is why it's so important, at least for this, to be able to finish LaVey, give you a decent enough idea about who he is and everything, give you my opinion, and then bring up Aquino, because this is where things like split. When Michael Aquino leaves the Church of Satan and splits off to start the Temple of Set. Now, the big difference between these two is that Michael Aquino and Anton LaVey. Anton LaVey is a LaVeyan Satanist. He's an atheist, doesn't really believe in Satan as a deity. Little Mikey is he's a theologian. He's a theological Satanist. I don't know why I was having problems with that. He believes in Satan as an actual deity. Okay. There's the big difference. Anton, atheist, doesn't believe that God or the devil exist. LaVeyan Satanists view Satan as a symbol, as an idea, and they live based upon that idea, which is what makes them Satanists. But they don't actually pray to him like he's a deity, like he is a living being that is much more powerful than we are. Michael Aquino believes, the devil is real, and so they actually pray to him. So this is the big difference. This is why it's important to start at Anton and work our way over to Aquino. So, doesn't look like I can find that picture that I was thinking of. There's plenty of pictures. I'll find it eventually. So eventually, what ends up happening though, who knows exactly what happened as far as like why Michael Aquino actually left. Now, there's plenty of times when Michael Aquino actually tells his story about what happened. And we are actually going to go listen to his story. We're going to kind of move our way through it. But yeah, let's go listen to exactly why, according to Aquino, why he left the Church of Satan. Let's see here. Gotta stop sharing that. This was the best version of the story I could find. There we go. Oop. Come on. Sorry, just getting it set up. I didn't have it set up right for a YouTube video. Okay, so I'm not sure what interview this is coming from. I didn't care that much to look, but what this is Michael Aquino being interviewed later on, I think in the late 90s, where somebody asks him exactly why he left the Church of Satan and why that whole thing happened, how it went down, all of that. So let's just hear straight from the horse's mouth.
Now, let's go over the period where you essentially broke away from the Church of Satan and formed the Temple of Set. Let's go into that now.
Well, the Church of Satan, as I mentioned before, had a couple of features. One, it was very sincere about itself. It was not a hypocritical institution. It worshipped the devil, the Judeo-Christian Satan, but it understood this as a principle opposed to the randomness of non-conscious nature, what you might call the objective universe. This was a principle of individual consciousness apart from that totality of nature. So that totality of nature is what people personalize as God or Jehovah, or collectively as natural gods. And in ancient Egypt, they were known as the Neteru, from which we get our modern word nature. So Satan, as we understood him, was the principle of consciousness opposed to this.
Oh yeah, I've definitely deep dived into Aquino's mother and his first wife, who was Mormon. There is all sorts of stuff in there, and so there's going to be several episodes that we do on Aquino, and we're going to end up coming back and touching on him some more. Yeah, his whole thing is just odd. I agree with JJ though that I don't think this motherfucker ever passed any physical test for the military where he was. So I kind of want to see those test results.
Distinct from it, which is how each of us is an independent, conscious individual who can look out at everything that surrounds us, have an opinion about it, take a stand about it, study it, and generally have a perspective concerning it. So that is how we understood this principle of Satan. And if you were talking about sin, it was not that he was somebody who was evil. His sin was separateness, that he had broken away from being just simple.
Every time you say, for those who don't know, that's me. I don't know. It's why I'm here. Thanks for your work. Thank you for being here. I know that not everyone's going to know this quite like I do. Some will know parts, some won't. And any of you guys out there that have questions, do me a favor. And when you write your comment, do something that will grab my attention, like question all in capital letters or something. If you want me to, answer it by the end of the show, just make sure it grabs my attention. Or like 10 said here about Cosmic Peach's beehole style. Caught my attention. That's funny. But yeah, if you guys need a question answered or whatever, or contact me at my my new master link in the episode description. Post it in the comments after. Send it to me on social media. If I end up start getting enough questions or whatever, I'll start answering them at the beginning of each next show. We'll do like a, previously on, we'll go through that sort of stuff. Also, 10, you're correct about this. There is a big difference. However, the misunderstanding, and it's not even a misunderstanding, it's them fighting against each other, but there is a big difference between the performative side of it and the people who actually believe in it. But it's still both Satanism is the thing. So one is not more satanic than the other. They both still are. It's just a different version of it. And that's typically what a Satanist would argue. It's like, no, they're not real Satanists.
A non-conscious part of this large universe, and it was now outside of it as a conscious entity. So that separateness was what we were focusing on and worshiping. It had nothing to do with simplistic morality per se. And indeed, I would have to go on and say that the Church of Satan was actually intensely moral, because we didn't come up with excuses for bad behavior, such as the devil made me do it, or I was forced to, or something like that. We always maintained this position that you are completely responsible for every decision you make and every deed you do, and the only person who's going to be in the hot seat for it is not the devil or somebody else, but you. So we had, if anything, a very strict moral atmosphere in the Church of Satan that way. And as I mentioned earlier, our other stance had to do with hypocrisy, that we felt that society generally had an overdose of hypocrisy, and institutional religion also had an overdose of hypocrisy. So we were very adamant that we were going to be honest and sincere in the stances that we took. So what happened was that in 1975, Anton LaVey suddenly made a decision, which he announced to me and expected for me to put in the newsletter, that the degrees, the initiatory degrees of the Church of Satan, were going to henceforth be available for cash contributions and donations, as well as personal achievement and attainment and study. And I went back to him and I said, I think I misunderstood you here, because you can't say that you could just buy a degree, or buy the priesthood. And he said, well, that's exactly what I do want. I do want contributions to the church, and I want to be able to award the priesthood and other degrees in exchange for those.
But then it's not real, right, Michael Aquino? Right? Like, if you can just buy it, then it means it's not real, and everything you're doing is fake.
I said, you can't do this. I said, this puts a lie to everything that we're in. It makes a mockery of the priesthood. It makes a mockery of our integrity. And he said, basically, shut up and print it.
Ooh.
I said, I'm sorry.
See, that's kind of the part that, you got to remember, this is coming from his side of things. So it might have been like that, but this is probably how he took it, not exactly how it was, if that makes sense. So, take it with a grain of salt. Obviously there was a split between these people. And it is what it is. Obviously, Aquino is going to think that he's right. And who knows what Anton LaVey thought, because he never really opened up about it. And they never reconciled either. So who knows, honestly. And I think it's probably closer to the fact that Michael Aquino actually wanted the limelight. So he thought that, LaVey was a fake. And it's like, but he's living as a Satanist. It's like, yeah, you don't particularly agree with, the fact that he's an atheist, But I mean, he is a Satanist. Like there is, I understand people are going to split hairs about that, but that's bullshit. He's a Satanist. He's living as a Satanist. Um, you're literally just, the whole no true Scotsman fallacy. And so this just kind of, I think, shows you how big of a nerd that Michael Aquino actually was.
Oh, wow.
I can't do that.
Well, actually,
I said, if that's the choice that you leave, I'm going to have to resign. And I did, and it caused me an enormous amount of shock and personal pain. And the details of all this, including all the correspondence at that time, is related in my book called The Church of Satan, which is a history of that institution. It's also in print. And to make a long...
real quick, actually, anyone who's curious about all of this stuff, like the super huge, crazy, thick history about the Church of Satan, yeah, there is a copy of a book that Michael Aquino wrote. It is like the history of the Church of Satan. We'll just show it real quick right here. And for those that can't see, so it is just called The Church of Satan by Michael A. Aquino. Ended on the 5th edition, which came out, I think that was the last one, in 2002. It's like 1,000 pages. It's a solid 1,000-page history of the Church of Satan. I mean, it names all sorts of people and everything. It's there. It's in there. So it will be in the episode description. If you guys want this, want to download it, want to cruise through it, it goes through everything, literally everything. So there's a lot of stuff. Honestly, we'll probably touch back on this just because it is such a thorough document. But I mean, I have no interest in literally reading this whole thing. I'll probably pump it through an AI LLM a couple of times and, ask some questions based upon, whatever. I'm not reading 1,000 books or 1,000 pages by Michael Aquino. But the information is there for those who want to find it. Let's get back to that real quick. And there we go.
Long story short, I told the church generally why I was leaving, and almost everybody left with me, and together we formed the Temple of Set and continued it forward as an organization of strict integrity, which it has remained ever since. That's how the Temple of Set came to be founded.
Very nice. And
the name change. The name change came about because at the time, one of the problems that we had always run into was that the term Satan was, of course, an invention originally of Judeo-Christianity, going back to the original Hebrews. And it was, by definition, a negative term and an evil term. And despite the fact that we had put a positive interpretation on it, in the tradition of people like John Milton and Mark Twain and others who had focused on the heroism and the nobility of it, it still was sort of stuck as a negative term, as symbolic of evil and badness. And despite the fact that we had worked against that, we were always sort of pushing uphill on that. So one of the things that we did in 1975 was to completely discard the entire Judeo-Christian iconography altogether and go back to ancient Egypt, where we found Set as the ancient Egyptian symbol of this same independence of spirit that we were interested in. So that's how the name changed and the context changed, and it turned out very well because it enabled us to keep going forward without having to deal with any of those old stereotypes.
Understood. And were you able to ever hash things out with Anton?
No, unfortunately not. It was a very shocking, a very unhappy, and a very sad parting of ways for me. Over the years, I occasionally would send him letters in which I hope that some kind of reconciliation might be possible.
So this is what gives me pause, is that, I mean, the fact that Anton feels so slighted by what Aquino did, that he never talks to him a single moment for the rest of his life. Like, so I think something deeper happened. It wasn't just quite so like Anton was trying to be like, yeah, this whole thing is fake, and for money alone, do as I say. And then Aquino's like, no, I stand on my principles as a Satanist, that we can't be fake. And then like leaves. Yeah, there's something more to it. And I wish I knew what that was, because we're obviously never going to get the full story. But yeah, there is definitely way more to this than Aquino's going to admit to.
I wanted him to be able to see what we were doing with the Temple of Set, that it was not done as some kind of a power grab, but it was done simply as an active preservation of principles. And I also, of course, that book that I referred to, The Church of Satan, which is another huge book. It's a 2-volume book. It's about 1,000 pages long, and again, about the size of a phone book, also available on Amazon. I started writing that as a comprehensive history of the church in about 1982, and I've been revising it and updating it since then until it reached its final form, which is the one published today and available on Amazon. And all the way along, I would send him copies of the current edition and say, if there's anything in here that you think is unfair or unjust or not representative of the truth, please let me know, and I'll be happy to address it. And he never did, nor did Diane, his wife.
Oh, that's terrible.
Or Carla or Zena, his daughters, for that matter. And many years later, when I became friends with Zena again, she essentially endorsed the book, said, yes, everything in here is quite fair.
So here's one of the big things, is that Zena eventually, marries Nicholas and walks away with Michael Aquino and Nicholas, and she starts calling him a fraud, and she actually drops a pamphlet. It's like 50 pages long, I believe. Basically just saying that everything he's ever said about his life is a lie. The way that people talk about it, they say that she was the one that proved that all of this stuff wasn't real about his life. I've read it. I'll see if I can find a PDF copy of it and hand it out in the episode descriptions next episode. But I mean, it's not a prove thing. It's just her word against his. So it's just like, what fan club do you want to be in? And it seemed to really hurt Anton that his daughter would do that. I'm not saying he's a great guy or anything. You can tell he loved his kids. I'm sure he was shitty. There are abuse allegations towards his wife and his kids and stuff. Pieces of shit can love their kids, even if it's not the way that they should love their kids, But I don't know. It just kind of seemed like after Aquino left and everything, kind of just like started becoming more and more of a I don't actually believe in this, I'm going through the motion thing. So it kind of seems like he was turned into that person, or I guess the more appropriate way is to say that he allowed himself to become that person. So it was kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy sort of thing. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong about that, but who knows? Let's see, a couple of questions here real quick I wanted to get to. So as a former Satanist, what do you think the connection with Abraxas is? Exactly a connection as far as what? Because like officially, the Church of Satan and Abraxas doesn't really have a connection other than the fact that they are Satanists. Now there are some different connections to all sorts of different groups, but at least officially on the books, that is, Not a lot of these groups actually have connections with each other. Any important connection between one group and another is not going to be anything that we know about. Let's see. Oh, okay. So the Gnostic connection. I'm not 100% sure. It's actually a really good question. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to write me a note. I'm actually going to think about this and pull up a couple of things when I'm not on stream so I can give you a better answer. So sorry for that being anticlimactic. Let's see. It's hard to write something and not say the same thing at the same time. Yeah, I'm going to make myself a note. I would like, if I'm going to give you an answer to something like that, I want to like actually have a good answer for you. I'm not even sure exactly what I would say off the top of my head. So next stream, either make sure and be here live. Or just make sure and watch the replay, and I will make sure that I answer your question. Okay. Let's see. There was one more real quick. Will you go over the degrees of the church? What exactly do you mean by the degrees? Like the structure of the church, like how it flows? What exactly do you mean by the degree? Interesting. That's really interesting. I'm going to have to make a note of that. Yeah, Aquino is definitely synonymous with psyops. I mean, he wrote the book literally. So it is really, really interesting. Let's see. I think that's it. That was pretty much it for the video.
Quite correct, and that's the way it was. So that's it. I had always sort of hoped, kind of wistfully, that we might be able to reconcile somehow with Anton before he reached the end of his time here.
Right.
That just simply wasn't to be. It would have been a lot of fun if he could have attended one of our international gatherings, been a guest speaker and gotten an honorary membership and gotten a standing ovation and all that. Kind of one of my dreams. It just didn't happen.
Okay, so there is the end of that. Let's see, I'm making a couple of notes real quick so I don't forget. 10 in your question. So the hierarchy of the church is what you're asking about. Yes, I would be more than happy to do. It's probably not going to require a whole episode because and also each like organization has a different hierarchy. Like the Satanic Temple is not the same as the Church of Satan, but yeah, we can easily do a segment on the structure. In fact, I think I might know exactly where some like visuals are that I could track down. So yeah, let me make another note real quick. See, this is also helpful because now, I'm starting to figure out some things that you guys want to know about. So I can make sure and put it in. But yeah, there's no problem doing some church structure stuff. I never find that stuff necessarily, it never seems as important to me, I guess. I mean, I guess it sort of is, but I wouldn't have thought of, like, I wouldn't have thought that any one of you would have wanted to know that stuff. But yeah, I'd be more than happy to put that in. Let's see. So I do find it interesting why Aquino says that he left. I don't know if I agree that was the whole story. You know, maybe you guys can see where I'm coming from on that. Okay, just a couple more things. And then, yeah, somebody mentioned went and got gummies and come to my friend's house, and you're still on. That's awesome. Yes. So I didn't want to do this long of a stream, but I don't want to have to cover this next week. So I'm just giving you guys an extra big dose. Because from here, the last couple of things I've got to cover with Aquino and LaVey is when things start getting super spicy. So the last couple of things to get through real quick, and I'll try to keep my side notes limited because I'd like to get out of here as well. Let's see, where is it? Okay, so there is a book that actually brings up kind of what the meetings at the Black House were like. This is something I don't want to have to cover next week. It's kind of just like this here. So let's see, where was the note? So the book is called The Secret Life of a Satanist. Okay, here's the note right here. So this is regarding church activity. Let's see, let me okay. Get it pulled up. This is going to be incredibly interesting. It's also why I want to cover it real quick. Boom. Okay, so the book is called The Secret Life of a Satanist. And this is on page 72. This is incredibly disturbing to me. Oh, what the hell? 72. This is another one of those books. This is actually a book I would recommend reading. Not every 900 pages written by Michael Aquino, not something I'm going to read. But this book I do recommend reading. So here's something kind of interesting. Let's see. Let's highlight it for everybody. If I can. Man, I can't stand Google Books. It's stupid. Okay, so anyways, the quote, it's right in the center of the screen, and it says, "One seminar on cannibalism and human sacrifice covered the subject in more than just words. Students were invited to partake of a cooked thigh of a young white woman. The leg had been biopsied and provided by a Berkeley physician who attended Anton's lectures regularly." Oh, lovely. Cannibalism. Great, right? Yeah, awesome. I've got a note down. We'll make sure and get to it, I promise. Yeah. So, this is kind of what it was like. Granted, this is not a common thing, but there is more than one source that talks about things like this. Let's see. And I think that was it regarding that. Here's the last bit on like Aquino stuff. This is important because it's relevant to the several next cases. Let's see. I don't know why that's not coming up. Let's see. I think this is like second to last thing. Then we'll get out right here. So this is after Anton, or after Michael Aquino has left. So I don't want to lose this stuff for you guys. There we go. Close that. Oop. Of course it did. Stupid. Okay, so this is rather short, but it is important. Come on, get back here. And there we go. Okay, so this is also from a book. Let's see. This is from Michael Aquino's The Church of Satan. So the 900,000 page book. Okay. And this is on page 48. Right here in the book, it says, now, mind you, that this book, The Church of Satan, this is all about the history of the church. And it's being written by Michael Aquino. On August 9th, Sharon Tate and her guests had been murdered by the Charles Manson family. And the cryptic scrawls left by the murderers and the ritualistic aspect of the killings themselves had much of the press speculating that Satanism was to blame. I had asked Anton whether he knew anything the media didn't, and this is how he replied. So in a letter to Michael Aquino, being asked if he knew anything more than what the media was saying about Sharon Tate, this is what he said. Yes, I have very definite views on the Sharon Tate case, but none I care to state in a letter. Suffice to say, it was a case of several people playing ball on the wrong team and not acknowledging the coach. When you return to San Francisco next year, I'll elucidate further on this. I will say, though, that there are many strange coincidences surrounding the case, which I am certain have escaped recognition by those concerned with the investigation. Michael Aquino goes on to say, I doubt that Anton LaVey knew anything more than anyone else about the killings. Yeah, well, you would have to say that, right? And even if he did know more about the Sharon Tate killings, you're not going to put that in a book. That's ridiculous. So, yeah, whether he did or didn't, Michael Aquino's not saying. Before Susan Atkins' surprising revelation of responsibility the following month, more likely he was simply worried that if some crazy cult had in fact committed the murders, the public backlash might extend to the Church of Satan, which it kind of did. Once the Manson family was identified and arrested, of course, he had much more reason to be upset. Not only had Susan Atkins been involved with the church. Boom, right there. That's why it's important. Susan Atkins involved with the Church of Satan. But another family member, Bobby Bousselet, had been a close associate of Ken Anger. Bousselet had been introduced to black magic by Anger in 1967, when the two of them were living together in an old San Francisco house called the Russian Embassy. The one thing I can say about the way that Aquino writes is he is a nerd. And so everything like this, like right there, there's a source for it. So that's the one thing I like about reading his writings. I know if I want a source for something, there's going to be one. Okay. Let's see. Two of them, Russian Embassy. Let's see. There was another important aspect to this, though. Now Anger invited Bussolay to play the devil in the new satanic film entitled Lucifer Rising, which was eventually released in 1969 as Invocation of My Demon Brother. Anton LaVey also made an appearance as a high priest in the film. In fact, I'm going to pull up that trailer. Maybe we'll start off next week's episode with that trailer, because holy hell, it is an interesting movie. Let's see. Lucifer Rising. Okay. There we go. Okay. Yep, there it is. Okay, perfect. Let's see. Yeah, Lucifer Rising. LaVey made an appearance. Bussolay may also have participated in Church of Satan activities, said Ed Sanders in The Family. That's important to note. Robert Bussolay, who would later murder Gary Hinman, had extensive contact with the devil-worshipping cult operating in San Francisco in 1966 and 1967. In October 1967, 2 months before he would assist Anton at the funeral of Ed Olson, Ken Anger traveled to Washington to assist in the famous, quote, exorcism of the Pentagon by conducting a ritual beneath a truck parked in front of that worthy and still rather possessed edifice. Relates Sanders. Apparently this is from Ed Sanders' book, The Family. While various diggers and exorcists were standing atop the flatbed truck, screeching out demons, out, Anger bare from the waist up, revealing what happened to a tattoo of Lucifer upon his chest, burned a picture of the devil within a concentrated pentagram, shouting oaths and hissing as he flashed a magic ring at inquiring reporters, thrusting microphones at him, hunched down in the gravel. While Anger, was thus preoccupied, Bussolay supposedly absconded with equipment and footage from Lucifer Rising, so infuriating Anger that he concocted a cursed locket to transform his former roommate into a toad. Okay. Shortly after the funeral of Olson, Kenneth Anger also parted from the Church of Satan. Now here's the last important part. Yet another murderer had attended the Church of Satan in its very first year of existence. Thomas Creech had not joined the church, but he would later state that in 1974, he and two others provided 8 young girls for a cult in the Seattle suburb of Bruin that practiced human sacrifice. In October 1975, Creech was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to hang. Okay, so these are some of the people that were confirmed. I mean, even Michael Aquino is confirming that Thomas Creech attended meetings at the church in its early days. Now, he never officially joined. I don't think you actually have to officially be a member of the Church of Satan to be a Satanist. So there is that. So yeah, it's I don't know. It's crazy. There are so many people. And then, I mean, we didn't even really get into the connection with Richard Ramirez. I mean, there's still a lot to look into as far as that goes. For instance, let's see, there is a quote from Philip Carlo's book from 1996 called The Night Stalker. On page 318, it says, Zena LaVey, Anton's daughter, went to the jail to visit Richard Ramirez. She wore a long, skin-tight black dress over her intense hourglass figure and had bright blood red lipstick on her full lips and long fingernails. She was with her then boyfriend, a tall blonde named Nicholas Schreck, who had cut off his left ear as a token of his devotion to Satan. Sounds super stable. Definitely a guy you bring home to mom. Nicholas also wore all black and sported an ankle-length black leather coat. Zena told Richard that her father and the church sent their blessings and were praying to Satan for him. They were making him an honorary member of the church. That made Richard's spirit soar. He held LaVey in high esteem, and Zena's visit made him feel the forces of darkness were being marshaled behind him. So, you know, what the fuck is that about? You know, that's just crazy to me. So yeah, this was before Zena left the church. So this isn't, you know, because at one point she left, she like turned on her dad, she turned on the church and everything. He's a fake, he's a fraud, blah, blah, blah. But at the point where her and Nicholas went to go visit Richard Ramirez to go make him an honorary member of the Church of Satan, I assume by her, you know, dad's orders, she was still involved. So, you know, yeah, I don't even know what to make of that other than, I mean, tell me again how this is just a witch hunt, you know? Because, right, that's what we're doing here. We're proving that Satanic Panic was actually real, and there was a good reason for a lot of this stuff to happen. Granted, we'll eventually get to the other side of this also where, you know, there were some evangelical preachers that took advantage of this. There, of course, the media that went crazy. But this is the reality of things. So, I mean, you can't tell me it's a witch hunt on one hand, that, you know, Satanists are just being picked on because they look scary. Like the West Memphis 3, get the hell out of here. These kids weren't picked on because they wore Metallica t-shirts and listened to heavy metal. That's not even close. Granted, I don't think it's like Anton LaVey is ordering the death of people, you know, like there is the other side to this. However, that's what we're doing here. We're trying to balance out both extreme sides so I can point out, hey, there actually was something to genuinely panic about. And because everyone got too hyped up, listened to Geraldo and Oprah and all these other people, they all made the average person look like a fool. So now if there's a genuine concern that maybe your kid is getting into some really dark shit with some friends that he shouldn't be hanging out with or she shouldn't be hanging out with, now if you complain about it, you look like the asshole, you know? I mean, this whole thing is just a huge mess. There's just been damage after damage after damage. And then we have the existence of, you know, the False Memory Syndrome Foundation. And that's like some of the worst damage of all. But there were clearly things that members of the Church of Satan were doing. The founders were doing, and there were things that people who were adjacent or who had appeared at the Church of Satan were all doing. That isn't super great, right? Apparently the story with Manson is that he showed up once with a bunch of girls and never came back, except for Susan Atkins. She was a full-fledged member. I don't think that they, said if they denounced her or denounced the crimes or whatever it may be. I can't really remember. That's a discussion for another day. But I mean, and then there's this whole plot against killing Ted Kennedy. I mean, to me, that says that it's more likely that Anton LaVey was, tied to intelligence somehow, or he's tied to some like quasi, cutout or something. I definitely think he was working with intelligence, because why wouldn't they come to him regarding like Wiccan, satanic, cult cases? I mean, at a certain point, there was like Americans of all ilk were working with the feds. At one point, there genuinely was a feeling that by working with them, you were doing and participating in your patriotic duty. I'm not going to fault anyone for that. I'm not going to hold these people that were alive yesterday to today's standards. We just got to find out, like, for instance, Walt Disney, he worked with the feds. He worked with the feds a lot. And Walt Disney actually totally, the whole, one of the biggest things he did for the feds was he would go around and find who the communists were and rat them out. I think the ratting thing is, it's whatever. I'm not, rules of the street. I don't support that shit. I think it's a little fucked up, but I also don't care about communists. So, there's that. Watch Lucifer Rising on LSD. That sounds horrible. I've watched some pretty terrible things on LSD when I used to do that too. So no shit. I did not know Jimmy Page did the soundtrack. Yeah, maybe we'll make that movie the first watch party. We'll do Lucifer Rising, because that would be killer. Let's see. Playing catch up. Your content is great, Jacob. Hey, thank you so much, Huggy Bear. Thank you so much. I'll be working on the. I didn't plan on this stream being 3 hours long. However, I will be working on the chapters for the rest of tonight. So be working on that. Let's see. Kenneth Anger is an episode in himself. Yeah, probably a couple, to be able to round it out nicely. I do believe that this is also mechanized into technocratic mancy as an amplification. Yeah, I do not disagree. I definitely do not disagree. I mean, I think that's kind of the point, right? Well, and there's so many different points. I think the whole purpose of Anton, at least culturally speaking, was that he was meant to come in and desensitize he's the on-ramp to all of this, right? Like, he is supposed to get the teenagers while they're young, and that's why it is kind of the way that it's structured and the way that it worked, and the fact that they're atheists and they're not actually worshiping anything. It seems like seems a little safer, right? So you just take baby steps. It's all about the baby steps. Yeah, allegedly he cursed Led Zeppelin. Well, and allegedly Led Zeppelin cursed themselves, by Jimmy Page buying Aleister Crowley's mansion and, performing rituals. And apparently his son died from some of it and stuff. It's kind of all over the place with them. I genuinely believe Led Zeppelin is one of these bands that I don't know if they sold their soul necessarily, but they made a deal with something evil, and that's the reason why they're as famous as they are, for sure. Let's see. Richard Ramirez's uncle was serving in Vietnam, involved in Operation Phoenix. No, so it was actually his cousin. Yeah, it was his cousin. What was his name? I had just mentioned it. Oh wait, it's towards the top here of my notes. Richard Ramirez, an overt satanic serial killer, grew up in Juarez, Mexico, influenced by his Phoenix operative cousin, Mike. Yep, his cousin Mike. Apparently, Richard also admired the Church of Satan literature and was granted a rare personal visit with LaVey shortly before starting his killing spree. So I don't know what that personal meeting looked like. I don't understand why he got a personalized visit with Anton. Who fucking knows? Yeah, that's been reported several times. Richard was actually forced to look at these pictures from his cousin Mike that brought them back from the Phoenix program, and he was like 8 years old. It's just like a poor kid. So that was obviously before he was a piece of shit. So, uncle killed his wife and splattered blood all over Richard Ramirez. I think so. I think. Let's see. There is an energy that forces people to do things. You can hear the voice of the coven amplified in your head. I think technology plays heavily into this. That's what voice to skull technology is. That's also why gang stalking is so dangerous. And what's even crazier is like this technology is just available to anyone. With $50 worth of parts, I can make some really terrible, homemade spy weapons. And like the information's out there, you can find it, and it's just honestly terrible. Let's see. Upon the native population, took pictures of Operation Phoenix. I can't say too much here on. Yeah, exactly. I think that's kind of why I've tried to stay away from Phoenix, just because like if I actually give any of the real details to give the full picture, like it's going to have to be so heavily censored. I don't know. I'm going to figure something out. Don't you guys worry. Don't you guys worry. Yep. Yes, he did. Maybe we should do a Richard Ramirez. Maybe we should do a couple of episodes on him. I mean, because he is an overt satanic serial killer. So yeah, we'll probably cover him. Let's see here. So we're gonna get through the rest of the chat, and I think we're gonna get out of here. Let's see. Everyone's got a big day tomorrow. So I would like to thank all of you for showing up. I really do appreciate it. I didn't intend for this to go as long, but you know what? Consider it, a thank you for showing up. I will be putting chapters in the episode description after this. I'm going to go back and watch it and split it up. So if you guys want to skip parts of it and stuff, we can do that. So I've got plenty of notes that will be able to start adding things to this, start, adding the things you guys want. Let's see. yeah, so right. Yes, it was his cousin. Yeah, it was his cousin Mike. Um, yeah, and I honestly I would like to know more about Mike. Um, honestly, I don't know about Mike. I've never, other than just that Mike would babysit him, um, and like babysit him a lot. Had a massive influence on him. Richard loved his cousin. Um, but I don't know too much, like, who his or where his family tree is, like what ended up happening to him. There's a bunch of stuff I don't know. Um, so, who knows? Anyways, I think that's enough for tonight. I definitely once again appreciate all of you for showing up. This was great. Honestly, I was able to get almost all of the things out there, that I think needed to be talked about. There's just a couple of other things, but that wasn't super important to make it through. So now I've already got a jump start for next week's episode. So make sure and show up. It's going to be every Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Mountain Time, which is also 7:30 p.m. Eastern. So make sure and show up for that. One of the best ways to help is by going to the episode description and hitting my all my links. That is one of the best ways. You can go find all of my social media, all the ways to donate. You can find contact, traditional social media. I did include my Facebook page on there, but I'll just tell you guys right now, it's super inactive. I don't use it. The only reason that anything is there is because I connected my Instagram to it. So every time I post on my Instagram, it will post to Facebook, but that's it. Maybe one day I'll use it. One of the best ways that you can help, hit the like, share, subscribe, leave a comment in the episode description. If you guys want to split up this episode and you found one really cool part, you want to split it up and send it out on your social media, go for it. Just give me credit is all that I ask. If you guys want to look tomorrow, there will be a list of sources that I used tonight. I kept them all in a list. And then Friday, I think I'm going to do another episode of the West Memphis 3. I think it's about time. I've got enough put together where it's going to be a little bit more structured. And William Ramsey sent me some stuff to go through. So, I mean, there's all sorts of fun stuff. And then Sunday morning will be a Laurel Canyon 1960s hippie talk and chat. I'm going to sit down with my coffee, probably hour and a half, 2 hours, and we'll sit and go through part 4 of Dave McGowan's Laurel Canyon series that he wrote on his website, talk about the book, talk about other connections. There's going to be all sorts of fun stuff. I've got some great interviews lined up. And of course, there's Already Dead every Tuesday at 7:30 Eastern, I believe. And there's just so much more coming. I'm so excited that you guys are enjoying this. It gets me excited, makes me want to put more energy and effort into it. So also check out my store. It's perfectly cold weather. I've got a hoodie. I'm going to drop another hoodie next week. So be on the lookout for that. God, we just got so much more coming. And I'm so excited for all of you guys to be here and share this with me. I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for you guys. So on that note, make sure and hit the like button on the way out and hit the share. Make sure and be here next week. Let's see, I got to shut off this logo here. Make sure and be here next week. And I think that's pretty much it. So anything else, just find me on social media and got your guys' notes. So until next time, stay free, my friends.